think of bonsai, it's tree in a pot. As an aesthetic piece, where we're looking at a tree for an aesthetic reason, documentation goes back about 2,200 years to China, the first visual and written documentation of bonsai. And then it gradually went to Japan in about 1000 AD. What we see as bonsai, especially in this show, would be referenced mostly as Japanese influence, although you will see some Chinese influence aesthetically here. In theory, any tree can be made into a bonsai. Bonsai is a noun in its literal translation, but you want to think of it as a verb. It really is a process of creating a small tree that mimics trees in nature. You can work with any species that will eventually be able to reduce the leaves to a size appropriate to the size of the trunk and the tree you're creating. Needle reduction on certain trees is a relatively quick, when you're talking about a 2 to 3 year turnover on needle production. You can reduce needles in 2 to 3 years just by proper horticulture, pruning, feeding, and watering. For instance, I'm standing in front of a Ficus nervifolia. The leaves on this are about 1.25 inches, extremely small. Yeah, there are a lot of trees that lend themselves, and we have a lot of trees in Iowa that really lend themselves well to reduction. Mulberry trees, elms, a lot of hedge material that we use in lawn design will reduce very, very quickly. I'm going to go ahead and start getting ready to wire down this first branch. Maybe I'll take out a couple branches here that I know. Like this one right here is crossing, and I just don't like where it's at. And I think that's about the only one I want to cut at this time. Eventually, if I wanted to cut more, I could. So the first guy wire I'm going to put is somewheres in here, going to there. What I'm doing here is preparing some tube that I'm going to wrap around the tree so that I don't damage the bark. I get used to using copper. Copper gets expensive because you have to take raw copper and then it has to be annealed at approximately 800 degrees. And then once it's annealed, very, very pliable, yes. And then what the neat part is though, once you start using it, it work hardens. That's why you can use a much smaller diameter. If I wrap it 2 or 3 times, it starts to work harden and hold. So I guess what I'm saying to you that I would want the audience to know is what a wonderful marriage of science and art. And you can, as long as you understand how to keep a tree alive, you can make more of a bend with art. Or if you purely enjoy the science part of it, you can just grow trees and appreciate the aesthetics, the horticultural aesthetics.